Hello, hello. I might use the microphone because I've got a bit of a mousy voice. So, Behrouz Boochani. Behrouz Boochani is an Iranian Kurdish journalist, writer, human rights defender, poet and filmmaker. He has been illegally detained by the Australian government on Manus Island for over 6 years, after being forced to flee Iran and undertake a life-threatening boat journey along with other asylum seekers. Behrouz has written, "We are a bunch of ordinary humans locked up simply for seeking refuge, exiled, imprisoned without charge." His book, No Friend But the Mountains, this one, details the extreme oppression and hardships in the Manus Island detention centre as a result of the Australian government's inhumane refugee policy. With the recent Australian election, the situation in the Manus detention centre has become even worse. The prospect of a new Labour government offered hope of an end to the refugees' plight. Instead, the re-election of the Scott Morrison-led coalition government has extinguished that hope. As Behrouz himself reported in The Guardian just over a week ago, in the short time since the election, at least 26 refugees have attempted suicide or severely self-harmed. He added, "In order to move beyond this critical situation, only one option exists. That is, for the Australian government to abide by the international laws which it is obligated to. It must acknowledge the human rights of refugees. There is no other way to act on this but to free the innocent human beings who they have tortured systematically for years." While detained on Manus Island, Behrouz wrote No Friend But the Mountains via a series of single text messages on a smuggled phone, which is quite interesting for an English pen event, that he's actually, he and all the other detainees on Manus Island aren't even allowed a pen or notepaper to write with. So this book was written entirely in single text messages on a mobile phone. The book won the prestigious Victorian Premier's Literary Prize, and Behrouz did an acceptance speech from Manus Island after that award. In the book, Behrouz returns often to his memory of the chestnut oak tree. In his Kurdish homeland, the people found asylum within chestnut oak tree forests, while a devastating war was being waged upon them. In the searing heat on Manus Island, there aren't any chestnut oak trees, but Behrouz does write of mango trees which surround the detention centre. Today I'm going to read a short piece written for Behrouz based on a chestnut oak tree and the hope of refuge which it carries. The piece is called Swap. It was just after 4 a.m. when I broke into Kew Gardens. It was my only option. The grounds were all fenced off with high gates and uniformed security guards. Trees, it seems, are very precious things. Inside, using a map of the surrounds, I cautiously crept off the lighted paths, attempting to avoid the sound of kicked leaves underfoot. Near an outbuilding, I found my first object of interest, a mango tree. With my torchlight, I revealed more leaves, mango leaves, gathered on the ground beneath it. Working quickly, I began picking these up, every last one, including the sticks and the twigs. Collecting them in a thick, sturdy bag, I silently set off in search of my second location. The English oak, also known as the common oak, is the most common tree species in the UK. But the chestnut oak is a much rarer thing. In Kew Gardens, there is a particularly fine specimen, which was first introduced to Kew in 1843. Today, it stands at over 36 metres and has been crowned the national champion chestnut oak of the UK. Its green leaves, unlike the longer, rounded edges of the mango leaf, are indented, almost perforated in appearance. My torchlight soon picked out many of these, dispatched onto a wide catchment of grass from this giant of trees. Making a careful note of their arrangement, I began gathering them into a pile, which I placed just outside of the drop zone. In their place, I began loosely dropping mango leaves from the mango tree. When the bag was empty, I refilled it with the leaves of the chestnut oak before retracing my steps back to the mango tree. Attempting to closely replicate their natural scattered arrangement from before, I began redistributing the chestnut oak tree leaves on the grass and roots beneath the branches of the mango tree. I took particular care and attention with this task, and after a few final leaves and twigs had been painstakingly shifted, upended and turned, I sat down, leaning back on the trunk. From here, surrounded by fallen chestnut oak leaves, now lit by the first rays of escaping sun, I imagined I was not beneath a mango tree in a fenced-off area patrolled by security guards, but in a safe, welcoming place where one could feel free.